Does anybody want to read the tribal acknowledgement this evening? This afternoon?
I will do it.
Thank you.
Let us acknowledge we reside on the ancestral lands and waters of the Coast Salish people who have called this place home since time immemorial. And let us honor inherent Aboriginal and treaty rights that have been passed down from generation to generation.
Thank you. I want to point out, Janet, that on this date, exactly 3 years ago, you and I were in Napa.
Okay, that starts all sorts of rumors, Kevin. It was for some,
There was a group of us who went down for somebody's
his
birthday.
birthday. It was someone's birthday.
You
Wonderful
didn't
dinner, incredible weekend with a bunch of different families. There we go. Okay. Call to order, Catherine.
Roll call. Sharon.
That's what I meant. Sharon's here.
Sharon's waving.
Here, sorry.
Here comes Jane. Dave Anderson.
Yes.
Bill.
Here.
Janet.
Here.
Kyle.
I am here.
David Dellendorf.
Here.
Paul.
Here.
Jane. Yes.
Here.
Patty. Here. Tony. Richard.
Here.
Liz.
Present.
Robert.
Here.
Kevin.
Here.
Olivia.
Here.
Maureen.
Here.
Anne Marie.
Here.
And Tom.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. We will go directly into a presentation from Anne-Marie Shanks on the changed and exciting new version of an amendment from the Climate Environment Committee. I wanted to point out, I was going to say this just before we got started. It is very likely I'm going to have to leave the meeting at about 4 o'clock, so about half an hour early. And I apologize for that, but there's not much I can do about it. So with that, let's go into Dave Anderson, please.
Has Tony been called? Does he know that the meeting is at 2 o'clock today? Is that something we should call before we move on forward?
I will go on mute and let Anne-Marie start, and I will call him.
Okay.
He should know. I mean, we announced it last week during the meeting, and everybody agreed to the new time. So he was there when that took place.
Okay.
So I will text him now. But Anne-Marie, please.
Right. So I sent out one document like last Friday, and then we heard from a few people like David, and we made some corrections or changes to kind of clarify things. So everybody should have received this document yesterday. And it was, I think, yesterday morning. I've asked Sharon to go ahead and share the screen. And what I'd like to do today is just give you the highlights. I'd also point out that earlier this morning, our prosecuting attorney offered some comments, and I have just reviewed those quickly. Because of the Outlook system, I'm not able to print those out. I have to look at them on real time. So I would imagine that some of the climate and environment people will be talking with that office. I don't see anything in there that appreciably changes the commission or kind of the path ahead for this. I'm looking for a vote today, and I'd like to move this out and onto the agenda for our 2021 calendar. So what we're doing here, as you'll recall, the county council went ahead and created a department and appointed the director of that department, Kendra, who has been the division manager of the Environmental Resources Division. And what we've done is, that's great, they've done that. We have created a commission that we're excited about because we think it shows a great way ahead. It's designed to be transparent to have the department accountable to the people and has public input and public engagement. We want to make this department a success, and we think the commission is really the way to move ahead with this. We're creating a 9-member commission that's appointed by the San Juan County Council. In that commission, there are members of some of the special interest groups that currently work with environmental with the former Environmental Resources Division. And the commission will provide oversight, advise the department, and it will hold public meetings. It will also create a climate action plan, climate and environment action plan, which is one of the keys to success that we've seen in other states and other counties that have attempted to bring these issues to the forefront. Like I said, there'll be public meetings with the director, and we will provide updates to the public about our successes and our lack thereof in the success area, things that we need to work on to move forward. So with that, if anyone has any other comments?
Can she roll this up a little bit?
Yeah, Anne Marie, if you could, well, I guess you summarized it pretty well.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, scroll it up maybe. And folks received this though as well. So
Yes, everybody's had a copy of it, and this version is not that much different than the other version. We've added a few things like saying that they're going to serve 4-year terms, staggered terms, like all the other county commissions and committees do.
Okay, can you quickly, what were the other changes made between the documents?
Well, in the very outset, David requested more of an explanation of what we were going to do with climate change. And that was in one of the opening paragraphs. And we reworded that so that we talked about environmental stewardship and reducing and mitigating the impacts of climate change, specifically the harmful impacts of climate change. And
the annual action agenda is in there as well, right?
right, and that's always been in there.
Okay.
And I think
Okay.
that's pretty
Why don't we
much.
stop screen share?
Okay, so the other big thing was David pointed out that the members needed to serve a certain term. And he had some other minor suggestions that we went ahead and took care of. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Okay, so I had, David, I've got you on the list. There was a couple other hands though that came up earlier. Did I see Kyle Davies and then Maureen? Is that right?
Yes.
Let's say, so Kyle, Maureen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say a few words in support of this work and the commission specifically. As everyone knows, it represents a great deal of thought and some rehash work and trying to anticipate in good ways some of the input that the public might have and be prescriptive, to use someone else's specific word, but not so much so, not so much that we don't really account for some other perspective that's really relevant and important, and also some of the anticipated change over time, I think. So who will be doing this work 10 years from now, et cetera. So I highly support it as is. I mean, Bill posed a question about any further changes. If you haven't seen what the PA contributed today, it is really mostly terminology and what's meant by, in one case, oversight, what's meant by a couple of other words. That's there for people to evaluate. I imagine we'll review. I hope we'll go back and look at some of those, but they're not substantive in my mind. So this is very exciting, and this is a giant compromise with current county leadership, and I think it's the right one, and it puts some of the county's talent and future talent in the right place in this department. So I'm excited, and I think I share that with a number of people. So I hope we have time. I'll also say I hope we have time and take the time to have meaningful conversation in the comments part, the discussion part, and I hope people will ask questions they have right now, and we can work through those. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Maureen?
Oh, okay. I just want to say I applaud this committee for pulling together and pivoting so gracefully on the events that occurred here. And I think that you've done an incredible job, and I think you've come up with the right path forward to do this. It's excellent and well done, and thank you for carrying it forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. I've got Janet and then Bob and then David and then Sharon. So Janet?
So not to copy, but to reiterate and celebrate what Kyle and Maureen said, this is an exceptionally elegant amendment to our charter. And I think he's right. We're pivoting, Maureen, is exactly what this committee did. And what I especially like about this amendment is that this brings to the county council's bold move to start looking at the environment. It brings the voice of the people to their work. And that's what I think is having this advisory commission is so essential to the work that's going to be done by the county government. And I cannot tell you how much I support this, and I have nothing else to say, but thank you for your hard work. And really, this is such a clean, elegant amendment to the charter for something that is super important. So thank you very much.
Bob?
I was amazed, to put it briefly. I was amazed that we had the ability to pivot like this and go from this pending confrontation with our county council to becoming partners with them. I can't tell you how exciting that is to me, and how exciting it is to me when I consider the prospects of our success with this when it comes to the voters. You know, there's one other thing I wanted to bring up, however, and that is a process question. And that is, I'll just state it this way. I hope that when we produce documents and the final documents, et cetera, we are not eternally sending them back to the PA and asking for comments. At some point, we ought to produce our final one and then send it to the people who need to put it on the ballot, and thank Randy for all of his input. But he's going to keep commenting every time we send him something. That's not going to stop, I don't think. So that's just a comment I have. Thank you.
David?
Yeah. Thank you. I had a phone call come in. I just declined it. Yeah, ditto. Everybody's done a great job. I do have one concern that I expressed before. That was the following. If the county council has already, which I don't know if they've done, or does in the future, establish a commission before this amendment goes to the ballot, what happens if you have two commissions, two competing commissions? And I had suggested to Anne Marie that perhaps the wording be changed to the effect that this, if approved, the amendment would replace the previously installed commission that the county council might put in place before the initiative, the ballot is voted on, the amendments voted on in November. Because they've mimicked us, they copied us, we've encouraged them to do things, they've done it. And I don't know if they've already put in place a commission, but if they do, then we've got two commissions. And I think this amendment has to deal with that possibility. The other comment I have is the same as Randy had about oversight. I asked that question of Anne Marie also last weekend. I don't know if oversight's the proper word. Can you have an advisory committee exercising oversight? Randy raises that question, and I agree. It's a conundrum. They can't necessarily, I don't think, have oversight. What does that mean? And related to that is the producing an annual climate and action plan. If it's an advisory committee, what effect does that plan have? If it has oversight, yeah, maybe you can say to the county, you have to implement the plan. But if it's an advisory committee, can an advisory committee tell the county you have to implement a plan? I don't know, but that's a concern of mine.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Sharon.
Yeah, I'm if Anne Marie wants to respond to that, I'll reserve my comments for the moment.
Let's keep going with comments at this point.
Okay, yeah. Well, I basically just want to say that it was an honor to serve on this committee. I know the work that went into it. I'm very proud of this committee and the work that went into it. And it's just kind of blows my mind that this is the year I ran for this commission, because this is just what I've seen needing to happen for so many years, and you know what I've been doing in my individual work. So I really feel very, very grateful. This is the moment for exactly this kind of thing. And as far as our relationship with the county council, I'm also very pleased with how things went, because, you know, it's like when I kind of have this analogy of like when I write a song, you know, sometimes I'll write a song with my partner, and sometimes I'll write a song, then he'll come back and add something that just makes it so much better. And then I'll come back and that'll jog me, and I'll have an idea and it'll make it, you know, just ratchets it up a notch. And I think that's really what happened here, you know, and that's very gratifying for that process to have taken place.
I never thought our work would be compared to music, but I love that analogy. Okay, Tom Starr.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I also am bothered by the word oversight. I can see built-in conflicts with who's the real boss, Kendra and the county council, or this commission with this word oversight. Oversight to me means power. It means that you're the boss. So I'm going to vote against it. I don't think that that's going to work.
Thank you, Commissioner Starr. Any others care to comment at this point?
I do.
Jane, and then we'll go back to Bob.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just so without repeating things that others have said, I think this is a great pivot and you know, a solid piece of work for sure. I had just one suggestion regarding reference to Resolution 2020, and that is that the title of the resolution, the name of the resolution, be included, because it's not clear what the title of the resolution is. So, and as some of you may be aware, for the amendment on the Justice, Equity, and Inclusion Commission, we did reference number 31, 2020, but we also included the name of that amendment resolution. So that would just be one suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jane. We're going to go to Bob and then Bill Apple.
First of all, where did we get this is kind of addressing David's thing. Where did we get the idea that this was an advisory committee? I've been looking through it to try and find that word, and I don't find it. This committee is, you know, constructed for the purpose that it was constructed for, which is not to advise, but to provide oversight and support. Now, Tom asked who the boss is. Was it this commission or the council? Well, neither one is the boss. This is a democracy. The boss is the people. The people, and that's not; those aren't just words. That's true. The boss is the people, and we are establishing a direct relationship with the people, and we'll be letting the council and this department know when they depart from what the people think is a good idea. We will be, when I say we, I don't mean we, I mean this established commission will do that. And I think that is a good thing. And I think it doesn't necessarily detract any from the council's power if they're worried about that, or it doesn't detract very much because after all, as between the council and this commission, it's clear that the council is the boss, the ultimate boss, because the department and the department head answers to the council. The council does not answer to us in any way, shape, or form, except as we are a conduit of the people. The council answers to the people, and if they don't do what the people want in this regard, there's going to be trouble. But I expect that they will. I think they may well be motivated. Thank you. That's all I have.
Bill, Apple?
I triggered the same way Tom did and some others on the word oversight. So I did some research, and I think it is as far as you can go, but I came out feeling it's safe. It goes right up to the margins, but the way the term has been defined in legal dictionaries and in cases, it does not appear that oversight automatically includes control, and the body of the document will show the extent of control, which is basically none. And so I think it's a safe word which pushes the margin exactly as far as you can go. I think it's an excellent term in this application.
Thank you very much, Bill. Anne-Marie?
Yeah, just to wrap it up here, I hope we're wrapping it up. Like Bill, I didn't go to a legal dictionary. I just went to the old Merriam-Webster, and it talked about watchful care, responsibility, guidance. Those are all things that I think will help to make this department successful. And they're the things that we can help guide with. Over the weekend, on Sunday night, some of the boaters in our area dumped their human waste, and some of that washed up on my dock. And you know, that happens. You kind of say, this is just how it is. Yesterday, there was a huge stream of waste that was being dumped. And if it was a marine spill, everybody would have been out for it because it was quite grand. And so one of my neighbors contacted some of the county leadership. I was going to bring it into something more at home and then talk to Marine Resources. But when I spoke with the county person, they said, if it's human waste coming from land, then you're going to call our Department of Health. If it's human waste coming from boats, then you need to call the Department of Ecology. And you know what I thought? I'd like to call someone on the commission who could help the department set out information to stop people from dumping human waste on our shorelines. I know my kids and the neighbors' kids are in that water. I see our visitors in that water. This is the kind of stuff that we want to take care of. This is the heart and soul of why we're here. We're here for the environment. Everybody, we've talked about this over and over again. And you know, we're just trying to make something successful.
Here, here. If there's inclination, I would accept a motion to approve the committee's recommendations or
I think
amendment.
Liz has a
Liz,
she had her
is
hand
that a
raised.
hand up or you want to put a motion on the floor?
Both.
Okay,
I wanted to say that what we've ended up with is a very robust combination from county council's actions and the work that this commission has done. So I couldn't be more excited, and I'm happy to forward a motion to accept this amendment if we're ready to do that.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor under discussion. I wanted to circle back quickly and not get into this now. But Bill, you had asked the question, what other amendments or changes may be anticipated. One of the issues that that when we were thinking of the elected official and creating the department, our prosecutor and I had a number of excellent conversations about the need for specificity with regard to what the actual jurisdiction and duties would be, and even putting in place what the codes are associated with that. And there's still been a bit of discussion on this on the commission. And so one question that I have is, as this goes forward, and it would not change the scope as we are about to vote on at all, but do we need to put in more detail? So right now it says something to the effect of that this commission would be responsible for the department that has the functions and responsibility for environmental protection and climate action, or something like that. A change that I could see happening if our prosecutor and others feel that it would be necessary is that we would put in place the codes that new department that the county council just created, the actual statutes that they're responsible for. So SMA, CMA, the Shoreline Management Act, the Critical Areas Ordinance, and so on. Do we need to cite those codes, or is the language that we have sufficient? But again, that would not change the scope of what we're talking about at all. It just may add more detail. And so that's one thing that I still have a question on that I'll be following up on, and then making a recommendation to the chair. But I just wanted to throw that out in response to you, Bill. But I really appreciate everybody's comments so far. I think it's been a constructive dialogue. Any other comments under discussion? I have Maureen and then Janet. Maureen?
You're muted.
We'll go to Janet and come back to Maureen.
Yeah, Kevin, just to address your point about the detail, right now, again, I'm sorry, this is so elegant and so clean an amendment. Is there any way we could put that information in the voters pamphlet and not put it in this? Because I think it would just get people would just be bogged down in code
Yep.
versus, so that would be my recommendation, is just keep
Yeah.
it clean and put it in the voters pamphlet.
I would tend to agree with you, as long as it is very clear what the commission is responsible for and is not responsible for. And I think we're there, but it's just clarification. And maybe it could be in the findings, maybe it could be somewhere else. And so, Maureen, are you ready?
Yes, sorry about that.
And then
I
Dick.
just wanted to, I wanted to just say, I appreciate David's response about, can we add a line saying, should this amendment be passed by the voters, that it supersede any commission, any advisory that was set up. I think that should be included. It's important.
Advisory or oversight.
Or whatever the title might be.
Dick, please.
Yeah, in addition to that, I think in Randy's comments, I don't agree with all of them, but he did raise some points that I think might improve it a little. And I'm wondering if we could give the committee authorization, or Kevin as chair, just to make those changes that we see useful without having to bring this all back and go through this again, as long as they don't substantively change what's here. Because I think a few of them are useful.
So that would technically be a friendly amendment to the motion. I'm inclined, hang on one sec. Sorry, I'm trying to read everybody's chats too. And Olivia, who is on the road, so I really wanted to just read hers. It's the one with edits from Randy that was sent at 8:30 a.m. I believe so, Olivia.
Yeah.
Sharon?
I don't think so, because I'm also on the road and I don't believe I downloaded a new version of it this morning. I have the one that Anne Marie sent us yesterday. So maybe we're looking at the wrong one.
No, we're not.
No,
No,
you're looking at the
Anne
same
Marie
one.
went over the changes and such in her presentation and
Okay.
discussed Randy's too in the beginning. All right.
Right.
If this is going to complicate things, I'm happy to drop it.
I need the final version. So David, I saw your hand. I'll get to you in a second. I think we need final language in front of us. And so I would say that we're voting upon what we're voting upon. And like I said, there may be additional detail that's added, or a few edits, just like almost all of them, that we've done as they go forward. But I think it's very important that we be voting upon the document that we're agreeing upon. Okay, I've got a ton of hands now. Maybe we're going sideways now. Okay,
Yeah,
I don't know.
sorry.
I've got David, and then I've got Kyle, and then I've got Bob.
Okay, well, I am concerned still about this oversight, and I'm concerned about Bob's interpretation the wording of the amendment, after it talks about oversight in the first sentence of that paragraph, says the commission shall recommend to the county. And then it also says the commission shall advise the head of said department at public monthly meetings. So to me, that means it's advisory depending upon that sentence. But if you look at the other sentence, oversight means maybe something else. So I think it's confusing, and I think it needs to be clarified. And if it's not clarified that they don't have oversight, because I don't think they should. I don't think any of the boards and commissions of the county have oversight today of anything. They're advisory. You can correct me, Kevin, based on your experience, but I don't think they should have oversight. And I would abstain if that's the case. I support everything else. It's a great job, but they don't have oversight. They're going to have too many bosses. Yeah.
Okay, so David, I just want to clarify. I think the subcommittee clarified early on that this actually will be a stronger citizens committee than any of the ones that we have. And that was the goal. So you can have obviously you're welcome to an opinion that you don't appreciate that, or you would rather have it be a weaker performance. But that's the understanding. And then I also really appreciated the way Bill Apple described it, which is, and actually Anne Marie, between the legal and the Merriam-Webster definitions. I think it's a good balance in language. And to Janet's point, I think it reads really well. And David, you just pointed out that there are different lines in there. I don't see those lines in competition or being contrary to one another. I see them actually explaining the role and function of the commission quite well. So if you would rather have a weaker one, then, that I think what has been clear to me is that the proposal from the subcommittee is to have this be a strong committee, unlike one that we've had in the past. I've got, was it Kyle, Bob, Sharon? Am I on the right list? I've got too many lists now.
And Tom also, I think.
That's right. It was Tom, Kyle, Bob, Sharon, Patty.
Okay, so I'm up.
Yes, please.
I'm not going to vote for something that's subject to change. So if this is not final today, I'm going to, pass on it or vote no. I'm probably going to vote no, even if it is final, but I just want you to know, I think it's out of order to pass something that's subject to change.
Okay. Kyle?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just three quick things. I'm hearing that there are two basic topics. One, to incorporate the PA's comments. I was just going to offer there are 8 of those. If it helped people get past, we could share screen or I could read those. I'm hearing though that there's actually more people have generally maybe more concern than that. So, and then finally, I'm in support of the language as is. There are certainly some kind of editorials. One of Randy's comments is to put more of the actual language of the resolution 20 of 2020 into the document. That's not substantive. There is some concern about oversight. The only alternative is to either vote anyway or to withdraw it and set a date when we do look at it, which would mean the committee meets again. I'm not in favor of that. I would do that, but let's be clear when we leave today on what our goal is with this. If people aren't going to vote anyway because of where it suggests this commission is going, that's a different issue. Okay,
I've got Bob, Sharon, Patty, and then Dick, and then I have a question for folks.
All right, to begin with, we all know that this discussion, which is being held right now in between the motion and the vote, is the legislative history of this document. These recordings will be saved. When it becomes clear in our discussion that nobody thinks that this commission is in charge and can tell the department or the council what to do, when that becomes clear, which that is the case, it'll become clear what this commission can and cannot do. It is oversight. It goes in and looks at how people are doing, and then it reports. It's not telling anybody what they can do and doesn't pretend to. The second thing I wanted to do, and I think Kyle kind of got to it, was I think we can take this document that Randy sent over and dispose of all of his comments before we vote. And I think we ought to do it so everyone, like Tom, can vote on the document itself as it's going to be final. And I suspect I know how he's going to vote anyway, but it gives him a clear path to vote for it if he decides he wants to, without that impediment of it not being a final document. I do think it would be a good idea to finalize it. I don't think it could take us more than 15 minutes if we stick to it, to each one and say, okay, go, good, that's good, go on. Don't bother with this, don't bother with this, don't bother with this. That's a good question.
Sharon.
So that's what I advise.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure that everybody feels comfortable that this is the final version we're voting on. Bill has expressed in the chat that he's not comfortable voting on it if he doesn't know that it's the final version. So I think we do need to deal with that issue. And we shouldn't vote on it until it's final.
Great. Patty.
Okay, I just wanted to say that when I read it, I had a problem with the word oversight too, because I did not know what it meant. And obviously the way it's been explained by people here who do know makes it totally appropriate. I'm hoping that that word can be explained or defined in the voters pamphlet so people will know what they're voting for.
Yeah. I think the voters pamphlet would describe what the duties and functions of the commission will be, or at least briefly. Voters pamphlets are short. And so in doing
I want the word oversight.
And what I was going to say is in doing so, I think it would describe that. Yeah. I don't know if you heard me. I said, I think in doing so, in describing the duties and functions of the commission, I think it would describe what that oversight actually entails. So Dick, and then I've got a suggestion, which several people have already brought up. Dick?
Yeah, I apologize for starting this. And
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. I think there's a simple proposal that I would offer as a friendly amendment if people think it would work. One is to add the title of the resolution, as Jane suggested. The other one is to add the language about which, if the council creates their own commission or committee, that this one would supersede. With those two changes, I think we could say, this is the final language, let's vote on it. And I really want to thank Bill and Marie as well, but Bill for doing that little bit of research, because that completely reassures me about the use of the word oversight.
Okay. Liz, and then I have a suggestion.
I'm just going to say I would accept that friendly amendment.
Okay, wonderful. So before we vote, I think, because there's questions, and I don't know, so I'm going to raise this as a question of the full commission, which I seldom get the answer I'm looking for. But would it be worthwhile to pull up Randy's memo right now and go through that quickly, just so folks can see it? And if there's a couple things we want to add in addition to what Dick just suggested, we can do so. And if not, we don't. And then we say that's the final.
Yes.
Anybody opposed to that? Anybody opposed to that? David, comment?
As long as we vote on it, not that we can consider it final, we vote on it as the final.
This has to be voted upon because it is substantially different than the original proposal from the subcommittee. So the original proposal from the subcommittee is no longer a proposed amendment, and this would be. So it will have to be voted upon.
Okay.
We have to receive a majority of support from the commission to move forward. Okay, I saw a lot of nodding. We're going to try and do this. And so who has Randy's memo available that can share it? Kyle, please. Can you expand that a little bit, Kyle?
And you expanded a lot.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Okay.
Let's put the name of it in there and that'll resolve it. Anybody have the name of the commission?
So we'll do that. You guys, we don't have to actually type it in right now. I mean, where we can, great, but let's just say we're adding the name there of the resolution.
Good.
So Kyle, are you comfortable keeping the master on this then, that you'll send back to Anne Marie? I'm going to keep notes too. So add name of 2020 resolution. Okay, go down.
Oops. Disregard that.
Why?
Because it's perfectly okay. Look how this commission operates. We don't get together and decide. I look up there to see when the next meeting is. That comes from you. That's a perfectly, and it would be an ill-advised chair if you didn't consult with the people as to when a meeting would be. This is a ridiculous comment. I would get rid of it.
Are you talking about shall be versus here is
No,
hereby?
at the direction of the chair. Setting up meetings, should it be the chair or should meetings be scheduled by the entire commission? I say the chair.
Actually, under Robert's rules, the chair has the authority to schedule the meetings.
Of course. Let's go on.
There's a question. I'm sorry. There is a question about the strikeouts, the loss of as follows, and then shall be changed to is hereby.
Oh, I see it. But he didn't comment on that. Okay.
I think as follows was a typo. No, it wasn't.
I think it makes absolutely no difference. Whatever you want.
Mr. Chair, can you see all the people and be able to call on folks?
No, I cannot see hands. Who has a hand up?
David?
No, that's the legacy. No.
Okay.
Kevin,
Liz?
it's Liz. I was going to say, if we just leave that and move on, 1, 2, and 3 are pretty much just leave it and move on.
Okay, so I need to be clear though. I just want to make sure we're clear. So if we go back up, so we're striking as follows. Do we want to keep shall be or is hereby? I think it's hereby is fine.
Yeah.
I think that's actually a good suggestion, Bob.
Yes, I think it's a good suggestion.
Okay, and we're disregarding the other comment that Bob spoke to. So on this one then. A2.
Direction of the chair.
Yeah, okay, that's the direction of the chair. Go down, okay. So we're not doing that one, this one. Bob.
Good suggestion. Change it to appointed.
I agree.
Okay.
Appointed by the county council, right?
Yeah, sure.
Just the word drawn, appointed
Wait.
versus drawn.
Kevin, are you writing those? I'll write those.
I've got it too, Kyle. And we can go back through the video as well. Okay, next one we've got, and that's fine. Randy, thank you. I know you're here. Thank you for the grammatical edits too. This is a good one. And then oversight, we discussed this already, so we're keeping oversight.
And we're going to add oversight definitions in findings.
Yes.
Could I make one brief comment about oversight?
Yeah, please.
Okay, you can find many definitions. Bill has found one. I have found another online. Oversight responsibility means to exercise supervision, management, government over something. So I still feel very uncomfortable with that word. And
So, David, your uncomfortableness or your opposition, however you want to phrase it, is noted, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think we're good there, and we'll put something more in findings too.
Bob has his hand up.
Bob, please.
I would just suggest that the definition of oversight ought to be something like looking at the performance of the various departments and commenting thereon. That's oversight.
Yeah. Well, we also talk about the commission will be meeting monthly with the director and providing input, support,
Right.
so on.
That too.
Bill, you've got a hand up?
Yeah, I think the definition of oversight is either going to be carried out by how we describe they operate in this document, or there's going to have to be a definition in this document, because the findings are not legally binding. They are simply the background. I think we've got to be careful about spreading stuff outside this document. The court will look at the findings for validity and intention, but the law is the law, and this is the law. The findings are not.
Okay, thank you. So actually, Bill, let me ask you. So I think a majority of us are nodding with regard to this back and forth you and Anne Marie have with regard to the definition of oversight. Where would you suggest we include that then? In here?
Well, I think the we use the word. You can do it in this paragraph. The commission shall have oversight of the county departments, and you can simply describe the nature of that oversight. That's all you have to do. You don't have to define it. You have to say, this is what it will actually be doing with those departments.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is I actually felt it does that. When I read this, I mean, it talks about the monthly meetings. It talks about that they will do the vetting, but then make a recommendation to the county council. It talks about, advise and support. The commission will be responsible for that action plan with staff support. So for me, it described it quite well, actually.
Well, I think I'd suggest one more thing, because the reason I like oversight is it isn't just advising, it includes advocating. That's
Exactly.
further. And I think we need to make sure that the commission, there's room for that in the definition.
Okay. Bob?
I suggest that we add a sentence after this first sentence that says the commission shall have oversight. We add a sentence that says that oversight is defined by the duties and responsibilities listed herein.
That works.
Okay.
Then no one can worry about it being something else.
That's perfect.
But I was,
Okay.
Bob,
Yes.
I have a question, just what you've hammered into us this whole session of, if you have a list and you leave something out,
Yes.
are we falling into that trap here or no?
That is what is being cried about. That is what the concern is here, that something that we have left out is going to come in and hit people over the head. I think in this case, we have to accept that we have put in here what we want this commission to do. That's my opinion. That we can't leave it open-ended, because people won't vote for a commission with open-ended powers. It ought to be the powers that are listed herein.
And I had a question to Bill, just in the conversations we've had through this process. If you've in the past footnoted things, is that appropriate to have oversight in a footnote with the definition in here, or is that not where this is used?
Well, I think the form of this kind of document doesn't really permit footnotes.
Okay.
Just make it a sentence after this first sentence.
Yeah, I think what Bob described is a good way to do it. Here is what we mean by oversight. But again, it includes inevitably the right of advocacy of their opinion.
So just to be
And what
clear,
Bob
Bob, I
said,
want to.
oversight is defined by the duties and responsibilities herein.
Boom.
Got it.
The duties and responsibilities described herein, I would say.
I have that with the correction for the second sentence of that paragraph. Between the commission and the commission. For some reason, I can't edit on the fly here, so.
Excuse me, it wouldn't be defined by, it would be defined as.
Thank you.
And can we put the word advocacy in there, duties and advocacies defined herein, or however Dick just said it?
Is advocacy already?
I think that's
in the document?
implied, because they can make their positions public.
That's right.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So are folks clear on this now?
Yep.
Okay. So let's
Yes.
move on to the next one.
Okay, a simple recommendation that the reference to the resolution be omitted from that part?
I say we leave it as it is and go on.
Yeah, because we agreed to put the title of the resolution up above.
Yeah.
Okay, next.
So A6, you can read.
And
What
hang
does
on,
this mean?
I just want to clarify for folks, because we are making decisions on what will be the final vote, that when I'm moving on, after a couple of people have spoken and either in favor or in opposition to a comment, no one else is chiming in saying the opposite. And so I'm saying, let's move on. And so I'm considering that as consensus that we're moving on. If someone disagrees, please raise your voice. Okay, so next one, please.
Commission shall with support from county staff. And the question was, what does this mean? Is the staff drafting the plan, providing input, providing data? And does that need to be further refined?
Yeah, so Bob, go ahead.
Up to the commission at the time. Leave it like it is.
And I was going to say, I've actually written several laws, one at the county level when I was a commissioner and several at the state level that have used very similar language. And what it, and Bob basically nailed it. It's the commission will direct the staff to support them. And generally it does mean that they're doing the drafting and such. Remember, these people are going to be volunteers like we are. So they'll be doing the drafting and supporting that document in the same way they would with numerous different commissions we've had at the county level and at the state level in the past. So I think the language is sufficient. And I would say, just for the clarification, that it does include drafting the plan and staffing the commission on the development of that.
I mean, this is what happens regularly with the planning commission and community development. It's the way the relationship works. It's not unusual.
Bill, did you have a comment?
I have a question here, though. In the legislature can do anything. It's the boss. And effectively reallocate things between departments by making departments cooperate with each other because it has the power to bang heads. We don't. I have to say these two questions, A6 and A7, do bother me, and I would like to, I don't know that they don't cross the line by saying, we're going to commandeer county staff. I leave it there, but I have to say it's problematical.
So then what if we added a clarification? So I actually disagree. When I served, I mean, unless something's changed, but when I served on the council and on the commission, we would have, and actually Bob brought up, the planning commission has asked staff to do things in the past. Because this is a more powerful situation though with the commission, if we wanted to add language, we could say with support from county staff, including drafting the plan at their direction. I think it's important that they be staffed. This isn't going to happen with just a volunteer commission. There needs to be staff support for this commission.
My suggestion then is the word cooperation.
Yeah, I was thinking
We're
of
not
that.
forcing anything if we say cooperation, because then we put the county council in the position of refusing to cooperate. We cannot make them support.
So Bill, maybe we have a difference of opinion here, but I'm actually saying that the staff will support. The
How about
staff will
support?
support this position. Because if the staff or the county council decide they're not going to support it, there's a very high potential you're not going to have an action plan.
I'm only a lawyer here. That's the way I'm speaking. I'll leave it there.
Let's say support and cooperation and go on.
Do we need to clarify that it would include drafting?
Drafting.
So it said with support from county staff, including drafting.
Because he's got that in his note, you mean?
Yeah, I think Randy's raising a good point, which is, a little bit of clarification here. I think Bill's point is a little different, but if we need to add clarification there, I'm saying that they would support and they should be obligated to do so.
But isn't that what's happening after the colon? You're defining what the support is going to be. They're developing and updating.
Yes, that's why originally I said I thought it was fine the way it was.
It actually defines what the support will be.
I think it's okay. And when you go down to the second part, an oversight role, we've taken care of that. We know what oversight is now.
I want to comment on that.
David, I saw your hand. Go ahead.
We just need to remember that anytime county staff is involved, they need to charge their time to something. it amounts to a financial systems. They need to keep their time logs. They need to track time and costs. And so it's not unlimited. And I think that's the reason I'm cautious about assuming that the county is going to provide this level of support. That's all.
Okay, I actually, this is one of the biggest deals for me, is that this action plan will happen and it will happen annually. It will annually be updated. And again, if staff doesn't do this with the commission, it's not going to happen. If we've talked about this for a decade in this county. So I'm sorry, David.
Yeah, your comment about drafting, I think that's covered by develop. Develop would include drafting. I have a comment about, again, the second reference to oversight role. This number 2 says conduct monthly meetings with the director in an oversight role. The preceding paragraph says that the commission shall advise the head of said department at public meetings, public monthly meetings. So we've got 2 sentences that deal with the same issue that are worded slightly differently, and they're also repetitive. So I'm not really sure what the solution is, if it need be, but you know, really the list of the responsibilities, duties of this commission in the paragraph above and this paragraph really should be combined. They're all the same, dealing with the same thing, the duties, but I don't think you need to go there. But I just point out that there's a difference and a duplication in this statement about the conducting public meetings with the director in an oversight role or in an advisory role.
Okay,
and somebody might say, what's the difference?
Okay, thank you. Are we on to we're A6 and A7 are resolved then, am I correct?
That the prior sentence that David refers to could be stricken without any great loss, I think. So in this paragraph, this commission shall advise the head of the department, et cetera. It is duplicated and is changed. I think you could.
Let's strike it.
Strike that one and.
Yeah.
Strike.
Where's the second sentence? Could you highlight that one? Where's the second sentence?
This is the first, and the second then is conduct number 2, conduct monthly public meetings with the director in an oversight role.
Okay, so strike the one. Are folks okay with striking the one in that first paragraph?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Second,
Yes.
David, I know what you're going to say. I'm actually the opposite. If I was going to strike one, I'm comfortable striking this one, but not the second one, because the second one has a little more detail.
Yes.
Anne Marie, you've got a comment?
Yeah, I wanted to suggest that we add a sentence, and it would be in the second paragraph after members shall serve 4-year staggered terms.
Oh, where are you?
Can we
Second
finish this
paragraph.
first?
We just finished
Yeah,
it.
I don't think we're quite there, almost.
Is there more?
I thought we were finished this.
there's a 3. There's a comment to number 3.
Okay, what's this one?
This
Can you
one's
blow
huge.
that up a little more? I can't read that. I'm sorry.
We're going to lose part of the comment is all. So.
I understand.
I have the, let's see.
I can read it. Do you want me to read it?
No. I've got it. Thank
It's
you.
all there.
So I actually disagree with this. I think that a commission like this, and similar to other counties in Washington State where they've had commissions that serve in a similar role, not necessarily over the environmental issues that we're looking at here, but over justice and equity, so on. They serve a public duty to go out and say, you know, hey, this is what's happening. So the way we envisioned this at the subcommittee level was it would be kind of a report card where it says, this is what the county's done really well, and this is where the county still needs to do a little more. And so that was the discussion. Anne Marie, am I getting that right?
Yes, that's correct. We're supposed to be transparent. It's not, everybody's not going to get an A all the time. We need to set the course and the way we're going forward.
Yeah. Bob?
I do think we took care of this when we defined oversight in the way that we did. The problem here is that you could not, he is correct in thinking that you could not have a commission that could tell these officials, elected officials, what to do. We are not doing that. We are looking at what they are doing and giving them advice and telling the whole world about it. I do not want to live in a democracy that does not allow the citizens to know what its elected officials are doing.
Excellent. Okay. Any other comments? Okay.
Yeah, it's,
Dick
sorry.
and Kyle, and then we'll go back to Anne Marie's comment.
it's a report to the public, and it's key to what we're trying to do here.
Done, Commissioner
Okay.
Grau, was that it?
No other comment.
I was just going to suggest that Anne Marie was going to give us a phrase. I was hoping she could just type it, or somebody could type it into chat as
Okay.
we go, because I can't type on the fly in this document right
And
now.
Anne Marie, could you tell us where it was? Was it the second paragraph of the document overall?
Yes, second paragraph of the document overall. And let me get to,
Okay.
and it would say, the last sentence, should another advisory committee or commission be established, this commission should supersede it.
Shall.
Shall
supersede it.
Okay.
Okay.
Could
It
you read
sounds
that
like
again?
you could, it sounds like you could be referring to the one that they do when you say this commission shall. You should, I think you want to say the commission established by this, in this charter shall supersede.
Yeah, that's
How
right.
about that?
Okay.
Could you read that again?
The commission established in this charter will
Shall.
supersede. Is this what- Isn't it CEDE, supersede? Any other committee or commission? Does that do it?
Two things. You got to say established by this Title 10. Otherwise, you're referring to any commission established by the charter. You want to refer to any commission established by this Title 10. And the second of all, you should refer to
By
what,
Title 10, where are you getting Title 10?
that's what this is. It says a new section shall be added to Title 10.
Oh,
So I don't know, Section 10, Title 10, whatever. But you got to refer to what's in this particular section, not just the charter as a whole. And then the second thing is you should be clear which commission you're talking about that has been established by the council, not just any commission, but a commission that is been established to perform the similar functions to the
Right.
I
new
would say,
commission.
David, to your point, thank you. I think you make a good point. I would, to clarify it, and tell me if we're on the same page of thinking here, but I would say that it needs to say something to the effect of previous commission established to advise the environmental, the same language we used, the department responsible for environmental protection and climate change.
Yeah, fine.
Okay. So we can clarify that. I wrote notes on that too, so we can get that. Bob, and then I thought I saw Bill's hand as well.
I have got a tough one here. This amendment does not include providing for, it doesn't say no one's getting paid. I don't think anywhere. It should say have that line at the end. It doesn't provide for any staffing or funding for the commission to operate. We did that even with our little commission here that only pops up every 10 years. We provided for that. What about for this commission with its huge duties and responsibilities? I hate to bring that up, but it looks like we left it out. Did we leave it out?
we don't have
I
budget
thought that
responsibility.
well, others can comment. Okay, I'll comment. I thought the line we have where you said it's going to be staffed.
Budget.
So guys, all right.
It's a headache. I'm sorry to bring it up, but it would be awful to have it out there and have it
I
shot
think
down
the
because that
county
wasn't there.
council will have to arrive at what the budget is. They're appointing these people. I don't think we have budgetary authority.
We
Right.
don't.
Oh, no, well,
We don't, you guys, we do not have budgetary authority whatsoever. What we can do is say that the, I actually think that the way we have it worded is good. We say that it shall be staffed. It is up to the county council to define exactly what that is. It's the same way with any department, you know, it doesn't matter, you know, Randy or Mylene would go in and say, I've got a critical program that's happening. And the county council says, okay, we're going to fund it or we're not. And so this committee gets established and it's out there. And we already have in here that the department will staff the commission on that annual report.
I get that.
I imagine just like the planning commission or the Deer Harbor Planning Review Committee, whatever, staff will show up at every single meeting and support them in those meetings too. If we need to clarify that further, then someone come up with language.
Are there any other expenses, Kevin, beyond the staff that would be provided that this commission will have on an ongoing basis?
In the conversations that have taken place at the subcommittee level, the main staffing need was on that annual report and staffing the monthly meetings. And we don't say actually that they will staff the monthly meetings or even perform a secretarial role. And I don't know if that's necessary. The main task, like work issue that they're going to be dealing with is this annual report. And we say that will be staffed. Maureen?
I just want to briefly say, when the county council announced their new department, they laid out a chart with funds attributed to it, but they didn't lay out the source of them. And it required 2 new positions according to the way they developed it. So I think we don't have to do any more than this.
That's good for me to hear.
Dick?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we just have to leave some of these things to the council. It's just, we can't be prescribing all of that.
Okay. Folks done with this subject? I saw, Bill, I thought I saw your hand earlier. Did you have a comment earlier?
Yeah, I had. I just want to say I have a real problem with this super session. Anything they do is, this is senior too. I've drafted documents for over 50 years and we've always tried to have a provision. It's like, I'm rubber and you're glue, etc. I don't think that provision, that supersession provision that has been proposed is going to fly. And I think we have to be careful, because if we put something out there that the prosecutor still has real questions about, and it's out at the time of the vote that the prosecutor questions the validity of some things, it's going to hurt. I don't mean we have to bow, but I think we have to pay attention. And I think the supersession is one. The second thing is that I think the role in terms of oversight is that of inspector general. It's what occurs to me now. A lot of departments have inspector generals, and this creature is an environmental inspector general. It doesn't tell them what to do, but if they don't, it can make the point.
Okay. Okay, any other comments?
I do.
David, and then Kyle.
So by supersession, I think, Bill, do you mean replacing an existing commission with the new commission? Is that what you're referring to?
Simply saying whatever the county does, this is the senior body, which is what I'm hearing. Or if the county does anything that does the same thing, this is the one that will carry it out, not what the county council says. I don't think that would fly.
Well, my comment is, my comment to that is, what if you have 2 commissions that supposedly are doing the same thing? I don't think we ever want to go there. The other thing I want to say, second, let me finish. So Bob's comment about the budget, or somebody's comment, you know, if you don't have money allocated, they could choke this thing off. We might have a commission that needs money to do whatever it's in charge of doing, and if the county council doesn't provide it with any funds because it disagrees with it or whatever, they can choke the whole thing off. So I suggest considering putting something like, will provide sufficient funding, or will provide necessary funding, just very simple like that, not a dollar amount, because who knows what that would ever be.
I
So-
don't
Hey,
think
Bill,
we should be having this debate.
Bill, hang on. Anne Marie, did you have a comment?
Sorry.
No, okay, I thought I saw your hand. Bill,
I don't think the debate is helpful. I don't think the provision is helpful, and I think it's unneeded. That's the bottom line. I don't want to end up arguing the small stuff. We don't have time.
Yeah, we're taking, this is a lot.
okay. So is everybody clear on the changes that we went through, what we adopted and what we didn't in the document?
Yes.
Does anybody,
I have a question. Is
Bob and then Patty?
is what Kyle wrote, the commission established by this Article 10 shall supersede any previous commission created to advise Office of Climate and Environment. Is that the one we're going to use?
That is my understanding.
Well, I would suggest that we change it to the commission established by this charter. So people
Okay.
will know what we're talking about.
And actually, I would rather see that because I doubt this would move an entire section within the charter. But as we finalize the entire document over the coming days with Megan, things will move around. So let's say by the charter. Patty?
Yeah, that was my main question too, was were we going to say that? But the other thing, dang it just flew away from my mind. But yeah, okay, sorry.
Is it substantial to where should we pause a sec?
Oh, I know what I wanted to say about the support from the county for this commission. I just go back to the problems that we had here, getting a place to meet, getting the IT services, getting all of those things that were needed to have a real commission. Unless it says somewhere that you are going to be supported in that way, maybe you aren't. That's all, our own experience.
Could we add a last line in this that says that the commissioners shall serve in an unpaid status, and the council shall provide whatever budgetary whatever funds are necessary to run this?
I just made a suggestion in the chat. Maureen, can you take over as chair for 1 second?
Yes. I'm looking. Kevin's written that commission shall be funded with an appropriate budget and shall be given support from county staff, including county staff of said department.
That is really good, and I like that. But I know what Randy would say. He would say, "What's an appropriate budget? Is that by your eyes or by the county council's eyes?" And the answer is, it's by the county council's eyes.
Yeah.
So should we bite
That's
the
okay.
should we bite the bullet and put it in there?
No, I don't think we can wordsmith it that deeply. I think that would be a mistake.
Okay.
How
I
about
agree.
Kyle, do you have something to say over there?
I don't, but Kyle does.
Okay.
We talked about this, I think, in committee, and the takeaway, if I recall right, was, we should make this will be another board commission committee of the county. My understanding is there's a fair boilerplate already about how this is conducted, and this will be, it may be contentious, but this will be an expression of the people if it passes. And it'll be county council's responsibility to treat it like every other commission that's out there. So I appreciate that there's some concern there, but I think I hope I'm not naive, but I think it's addressed by the county already.
And to piggyback on that, remember, this is an amendment that will be voted on by the people. All the other advisory commissions are appointed. So there has to be some given allotment of power in that. That's what the people are saying. Are you back, Kev?
Maureen,
Yes.
a question to you and Kyle. Are you then both saying we don't need this last statement? Or are you saying this last statement covers it and it's good enough?
Good.
I think that's a good statement, and I think appropriate budget covers it.
Okay.
Kyle, is that what you were saying?
I I was saying, I don't think that we need it. I don't know that it's a problem that it's added. So I will still vote for it.
Okay. We gotta wind this down because we were
Yeah.
really doing an hour and a half on this. Bob, go ahead.
I think what Kyle wrote is good. I think it should be added. I think we also need to say something. Don't we need to say that members of this commission serve on a voluntary basis?
Yes.
People want to think they're going to get paid.
No,
Okay, hang on, okay, Dick and then Dave, and then, well, okay, Dick and then Dave.
I was just going to say in response to Bob, no, if there's no provision in here to pay them, then they're not going to get paid. I mean,
Okay.
let's don't
All
get
right.
into.
Okay.
Okay. Dave, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Doesn't this this funding provision also kind of address the supersede provision in the sense that if they don't want to, they're going to be required to pay for it. So if they want to create another commission, they're going to be on the hook for paying for 2 commissions. And I think the fact that we're requiring them to pay for it will push them to not address another commission.
Okay, Patty?
We got to remember that we're voting on this and the county can go ahead and do something and doesn't need to have the voter approving it. So it could be that, you know, we will only have the county's commission.
Well, if this is voted on by the people at the ballot, there will be a commission.
What I'm
That's-
saying is that if this doesn't pass,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
he has
Oh,
already done it, we will have the
If-
county's commission. So
If we don't have a superstition thing and they already have
know.
something in place,
no,
then the
We need it.
appropriate budget for our commission, the second commission, would be 0. That would be the appropriate budget. You don't want to fund somebody that's in competition with something you already got up there.
I think we should end this, Kevin.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I keep
Yeah.
seeing hands. Liz?
Yep.
So
I'm willing.
are we at the point of these all being friendly amendments and I'm willing
Yeah.
to accept those as friendly amendments? Are we there or no?
Yeah, so what I was going to say is, I think there's one friendly amendment, which is the full changes that we've gone through in detail.
Okay.
So I want to make sure everybody's clear on what those were, what we just went through.
Yes.
Clear?
Okay,
Then I
Okay.
would accept all of the revisions that we just went through as a friendly amendment.
Is it
Okay.
necessary for me to accept the second? If so, I
Yes.
do.
yeah, okay. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Seeing no further discussion. Then
Jane's hand is up.
Jane,
Mr. Chair, I just got knocked off the call completely, so I didn't, can you just please repeat the motion?
well, the motion included us going through the full discussion with I think it was 8 changes we made to the document.
Right,
And so those 8 changes are now incorporated through friendly amendment into the motion. So the motion is to move forward with the subcommittee recommendation to create the commission, the Oversight Commission over the new Department of Environment and Stewardship, or whatever it's being called, with that role of oversight that we've talked about, and basically the document we received with the 8 changes we just went through.
thank you.
I think it was 8 and it could be 9, I can't remember, but
Okay.
we've got them all before us, and I've got very detailed notes here too. Okay. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Okay. All those opposed? Olivia? Okay, any others opposed?
Jane,
Okay, any abstentions? Okay, I have, hang on, guys, I'm trying to write this down. Opposed, I have Tom, Paul, Bill, David. That's it? Okay. Abstain. Okay, motion carries. Congratulations, Anne Marie and subcommittee, for your excellent work. Let's move on now to and also, since Olivia is driving, Maureen is going to take over and chair when I have to step away in about 20 minutes. And thank you for that, Maureen. Okay, so we're not going to go into the final review yet. We're going to go into justice and equity. Is that right, Jane?
Yeah, we can address
So Jane, do you
one.
want to go ahead? And I may have to skedaddle before 20 minutes. Skedaddle, God, I used to tease my mom for saying that. Oh my God. Jane, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to suggest that we try to deal with perhaps in its entirety the non-discrimination section today based on comments we received from the prosecuting attorney's office this morning. And he sent just before our meeting his comments on the Justice, Equity and Inclusion Commission. And we're not going to be able to resolve that that amendment today. And so before you skedaddle, Mr. Chair, I think we need to establish how we're going to deal with that amendment prior to presenting to County Council next Tuesday, if we're going to be able to, given your absence for the next few days. So before you leave the call, I want to circle back to that issue because it's really very important. So I was sort of doing some on the non-discrimination section. I was doing some work on my computer while we were all discussing finalization of the Climate and Environment Commission, and I can share a screen with you and show you what I've come up with that actually takes into consideration the prosecuting attorney's comments on the non-discrimination section. And I was very fortunate to be able to just have a very brief conversation with him before the meeting today to get a little clarification on a couple of things. So, and I see that he's on the call, so, he may be able to give us his, you understood my advice correctly, and I see how you're dealing with it or not. Okay, so I'm going to share a screen. I'm going to walk you through what I did. And Mr. Chair, then we should perhaps open it for discussion, and perhaps the prosecuting attorney might want to, speak as well. But let's just play it by ear, okay? Because I think our full group may be able to just go, yep, based on what you've described and what's been done. So here we go. Share screen. Please let me find this quickly. All right, just a moment. I'm sorry, everybody. I hoped I could find this very fast, and I should be able to, but just bear with me one more moment, please.
Get it?
It's coming.
You got it.
Which one is it though? Do I have up there? Sorry, guys, I can't even see.
Nothing's
Oh,
up there
no,
yet.
that's not the correct one. My apologies. Just a moment, commissioners. Okay, I think I can, now I can pull it up. All right, I couldn't see the name of the file adequately. Yes, okay, now I've got it. Okay, so can everybody see this?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Okay, great. All right, so what you're looking at now is the prosecuting attorney's sort of standard font, et cetera, and format that he puts our amendments into. And so I worked in that because this is the kind of the way it needs to look in the end anyway. And what I'm just going to walk you through now very briefly is the few edits I made. The first one is something I didn't get a chance to talk to the prosecuting attorney about, but this was called in his language a proposition concerning the non-discrimination in the county employment. And for me, it's not just about employment. It's about more than that, and we've discussed that at length. And I'll illustrate to you what I'm talking about in a moment. It was a recommendation of the prosecuting attorney that we change this language you see that's been struck out. All county personnel and officials shall ensure that there be no discrimination, blah, blah, blah. He was not comfortable with that language and was recommending that we actually adopt the language of the Snohomish County Charter that starts its non-discrimination clause with the text that is in blue. And my understanding of his advice on this is that that really makes very clear that we're talking about the duties, the local duties that this county has by virtue of its having a charter, a local county charter, and then that doesn't intersect in any inappropriate ways with, the duties of the state, the duties of federal government, et cetera. So he was advising that we use that kind of language. Then we would retain our language here that we discussed at length, and what these various potential areas for discrimination based on various identity factors and also based on conditions of employment, et cetera. We would retain our language there. However, he recommended that we remove the comma after residents and visitors because it confuses the meaning of that sentence. And so his advice was to take that comma out. And he had a footnote in his memo regarding that, and we discussed that, and that seemed a good suggestion to me as well. And then the other and significant recommendation that he made was that we strike clause 2 that relates to the contracting provisions that we included here, and non-discrimination in any contracts that the county enters into. And his office did some review, and it sounds like maybe discussion with the Snohomish County government, and discussed with the Snohomish County government actually the fact that they have very specific county code that relates to the county entering into contracts. It's literally called, it's a specific code that he gave me the number of, and it's called county contracts. And in that code, it's quite clear that the county needs to abide by non-discrimination measures as appropriate, both within the county charter and as indicated in the county charter, but also at the state and federal level. So what he recommended was that that this be put into that this be adopted as a provision in county code rather than in the charter itself. So that's why I put that there, but it's, I didn't have time to create a recommendation at this point, and that's a little bit less urgent than just discussing this amendment to this section based on his advice. So with that, I can leave this up, or I can stop sharing. And
why don't you stop sharing? Why don't you stop sharing for now, just so we can see people?
Okay.
Okay. Any comments on Jane's overview there? And Jane, just to clarify, are you're looking for a vote today on this?
I am, yes, recognizing that everybody would have just received his memo this morning as I did, and so I understand it's very pressured.
Yeah, Maureen?
I see this as a perfectly reasonable addition and with some new language. I have no objection to it. And I think the last part being remove that and add it as a recommendation that the council put that into code is appropriate.
Okay, others? Kyle?
I'm going to be a stick in the mud and actually suggest that this needs committee time, or I would like to see this discussed in committee, especially the last piece, for what it's worth.
Janet?
Well, I was going to make a motion that we accept the amendment, but I will give deference to Kyle and the committee because it's their work. So,
Dick, I see your hand. Can I say something quickly, which is I actually, the first point, totally agree with. The second point I'm opposed to. And I've done my own research quite a bit on the contracting piece, and I think it could be in the charter and could appropriately be in the charter. And deferring it to the county council, I would actually have a concern with, to the point where I may be opposed to a vote today. Dick?
Well, I was going to say, I don't think, in response to what Kyle said, when we're sitting here with the full commission, I would be opposed to sending something back to one of the committees when we can sit here as the full commission and make a decision.
Yes.
Yeah, we can
Agreed.
keep discussing.
And that's
You
what
guys
the
can
chair
wait
wants.
15 minutes and vote without me. Bob,
Actually, that's not a bad idea.
Bob,
Yes.
you had your hand up.
Yeah, I am for it. I think we should proceed today. The chair has asked us for a vote. She has given us the document with all of the corrections. She herself has acceded to the idea that it be, she's got her hand up though, because I may be wrong. I thought she had acceded to the idea that the recommendation, that the contract stuff be turned into a recommendation, and I would be good with that, although I could have it the other way too.
And I want to say, I'm not going to be a stick in the mud on this, guys. So let's continue the discussion, see where we go. I have Liz and then Jane.
I understood what the recommendations were. What I wasn't clear about is where the subcommittee landed on those recommendations. So I'd be interested in hearing more about whether you were or were not in favor of each of the recommendations.
Jane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So thank you for the question, Liz. And this is also out of respect to Kyle on this. Our subcommittee has not had a chance to deliberate on this at all amongst ourselves. And so I recognize and appreciate that. So Bob, my comment was not representative of the subcommittee. We don't have a position on this together as a subcommittee because we haven't met to discuss this. And that is also the same for the as yet now unfinalized amendment on the Justice, Equity and Inclusion Commission. So the Climate Environment Committee has had the opportunity to meet and meet and meet and meet again and go over their work repeatedly. And we've not had the benefit of doing that to try and finalize this here. So I also want to note for the record, I was uncomfortable with the fact that Commissioner Davies didn't feel he could even vote in favor of the two amendments we discussed last Wednesday. And so I feel strongly that our subcommittee has worked extremely hard together as a subcommittee of 4 for the last 5 months. And I just don't feel it's representative of our full subcommittee if both Chair Ranker and Commissioner Davies have some issues. So Bob, I appreciate that, Commissioner O'Connell, I appreciate that this is difficult for you, but we've just spent quite a lengthy period of time deliberating the Climate and Environment Commission, and I believe this work is equally important. Thank you.
I have, and I'm sorry, I've got too many lists from too many conversations. I think I had Bill and then Dick and then Bob again.
I'm just asking, I guess, a kind of obvious question. We've got 1 million propositions coming up. We're spilling over into next year with some questions about that. And I'm wondering whether this shouldn't simply be a recommendation. If we submitted the recommendation and it were followed, and frankly, this is like motherhood and apple pie, it's likely to be followed using the Snohomish model, it would save us a slot. And I think we need to be careful about how many things we present. And I'm cautious because if this is a good recommendation, I'm not sure we need to insist on a proposition. That's all.
Is that a motion?
Thank you, Bill. I have Dick and then Jane and then Bob and then Jane again.
I was just going to say, with all due respect to Jane and Kyle, I think again that we're running out of time. The full commission is sitting here. I don't think either of these proposed changes is brain surgery or rocket science. The full commission can make a decision.
Bob and then Jane.
Dick is right. Remember what we did today with the climate commission thing. We did not send it back to the committee. It is not before the committee now. It is before the entire commission. When we got comments from Randy just now today, I think it was, on this commission considered those comments, went down there and made the changes, as it should. We've had all of the time that both of those committees and other committees have deliberated. We've brought it before the commission, and now we have some comments from the PA, which we are fully prepared, I think, to go ahead and take care of. So I think we should do it today, get it over with. This commission, not send it back to committee. That's inappropriate.
Sharon?
Mr. Chair, I was.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jane. Jane, yes, please.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make a note of what Commissioner Apple said. And I knew that if we continued to have our amendments sent back to the prosecuting attorney's office again and come back again and come back again, that eventually this would all start slithering away and these amendments would lose support. And what Bill Apple just said is precisely what I worried about. And so for me to have this not be an amendment, to not have a non-discrimination section in this charter will be very difficult to accept. But hey, you know, we're 18 commissioners, we can vote however we want. So I would just, I am, given that seems none of you are interested in having this be reconsidered by the subcommittee, I hear that. And it is my view that without having the benefit of consulting as a subcommittee, it is my express opinion that we remove clause 2 and proceed on the basis I outlined. And if people are prepared to take a vote on that, that's my position.
I so move.
Bob, hold on.
Second.
What's
You
the matter
guys,
with that?
just
Do that.
fine. We're under discussion now. We have a motion and a second. Under discussion, I will say, and I wrote this in an email, please don't just throw out so move. Let's have some discussion. These are really big, important things. We just had 2 more people who wanted to make comments. And so I would like to allow them to comment instead of it being under discussion. I'm sorry, guys, but we just
Kevin.
get so excited because we're time pressed. Yes, we only have a little bit of time. We still need to take time to have thoughtful discussions. So now we
Kevin,
have-
that is insulting, Kevin, to say I just threw it out. That was a thoughtful notion and I was responding to what Jane said and the need for us to get on with our business.
Bob, I stated sorry if you took offense to that. I did not mean it that way. I was in the middle of calling on Sharon when you said so move. And I was literally calling Sharon's name when you did it. Is all I'm saying is, like,
If it would be helpful, I'll withdraw the motion.
No. We have a motion and a second on the table and I want to be
All
clear
right.
on what the motion is. The motion and Bill, I'm aware of that too. I'm just trying to say, like, let's just get through the dialogue. The motion and the second on the table is to move forward with what Jane presented, which is the first change that she suggested with Randy's language going to the Snohomish language instead of what she proposed. And the second piece is withdrawing that and making that a recommendation to the county council as opposed to having it be part of the charter. That is the motion on the table. Am I correct? Somebody nod. Jane's nodding. I'm going to go with Jane. Okay. Sharon.
Yeah, 2 things. Firstly, who seconded that motion?
Anne Marie Shanks.
Okay. I just want to say that there were only 4 of us in this subcommittee. We did a huge amount of work. So much of this work fell on Jane. And I just want to say my heart goes out to Jane because she has had to actually do some of her paid work. And, you know, there's only so many hours in a day. If Jane and Kyle, as our co-chairs of this committee, are not comfortable with voting until we have a chance to meet as a subcommittee, then I think we should wait. You know, I couldn't do it today. I'm on the road. I had to carve out 2.5 hours for this meeting, but, you know, basically I can do it any day. And if neither co-chair is comfortable with voting now, I think we should wait another couple of days. Thank you.
I have a comment. Did somebody else have a hand up though? Janet, please.
Yeah, I was just going to kind of reiterate what Jane said, that, you know, I want to remind everyone where we started with all these amendments and where we're ending up. There has been so much compromise. There is no way I would see this amendment turned into a recommendation. I mean, this is minimally the bar that we should put forth in this charter in terms of discrimination. So I wholeheartedly support this as an amendment. And I'm sorry that we've been cutting around the edges of all of these amendments. And I understand they're legal issues, but really, this is minimally what we need to do for this charter and in terms of discrimination. So that's all I wanted.
Okay, my comment, if I may, is similar to Janet's comment. I want to say that the idea that we wouldn't at least put this forward is appalling. My only concern was that I wanted the other piece to be in the charter so it is permanent, and not that we're relying upon the council to do it. Whereas, and I believe all three of our current council members would wholeheartedly support that, just from knowing who they are as people. So I believe that an ordinance could take place. Ordinances are not as permanent as something being in the charter. And from my own research, I found that something like this being in the charter is totally appropriate. However, if the majority feels that changing that second piece to being a recommendation and moving forward with the first piece, which I think is even more important, is what we should be moving forward today so that we can move something forward today, I would support it and I would vote in favor of it. I have Patty and then Bob.
I'm unclear why the second part of it has been taken away.
Jane, do you want to comment on that again?
It's, to be honest with you, it's a bit difficult for me to interpret the recommendation and opinion of Randy. In reading it, I discern exactly what he's talking about. It's complicated, but I actually would prefer. I don't know, Mr. Chair, if you read his memo or if we want to call on the prosecuting attorney himself to just explain his legal opinion on clause B, or clause 2, which seems appropriate to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Okay.
better explained by him than myself.
Mm-hmm.
Randy, you've got your video on. Do you want to make a comment about your rationale on that?
Be very quick.
Thank you very much.
So item E in the memorandum we wrote talked about the practicality side of the contracting language. And if you require that in contracts, that means every state, every federal contract, every contract with every contractor from Microsoft to the federal government and the state government all have to include this language. They have their own language. These are contracts of adhesion, especially on these grants, and we do not have the ability to change them. The state has its own non-discrimination rules. The feds have their own non-discrimination rules, and that's why there are exceptions built in under the ordinance in Snohomish County, and that's why I prefer that approach. We can build in exceptions and make it applicable. Remember, in contracting, things are negotiated, and for us to demand, a little county like us to demand this level of non-discrimination that's unusual will be reviewed by their lawyers, and we predict rejected because of risks of non-discrimination suits in their own shops. Now, that said, there is a case out there that holds that when you add this contract language in, you are no longer working within the area of local control. Remember on my first session, I talked to you about how your charter language must only involve local matters. And that's why when you contract out, you are involving state, federal, entities with multinational business of which who do a very small business here, and that would not be seen as something that's local. So that said, that's why I recommend that. You can encourage us to, all of our contracts have non-discrimination language anyway, so that's there, okay? We're not losing non-discrimination by doing this. It's in the federal contracts, it's in the state contracts, it's in contracts with tribes. So and we have it in many of our own contracts, and we're required to. And there are a number of different laws that when we enter into these grants and so on that require us to have that language. So that's why I'm suggesting this as a recommendation. The council will make a ordinance that fits and can adapt it appropriately. That's all.
Randy, a question? And I saw a couple other hands too. If I may make a question though, is your thinking on doing this as an ordinance because you could take more time to do it more thoughtfully? Because I don't have any objection or concern with anything you just said. My thinking, however, is that it being in the charter is a better place for it because it's such an important issue to us, as opposed to it being an ordinance.
You know, no, you need the flexibility, and this has no flexibility. So the way you've written it, no, it's absolutely unacceptable. It would freeze the county.
Yeah, my question is, could we develop language that, like you're suggesting, you're saying you could work with the council to develop language that would be appropriate for an ordinance. Why not right now work with us to develop that language to put it in the charter?
Because you would still run afoul of the problem that it's no longer local. You are limited to local actions. Local only. That's why the introductory language has changed to describe how you're describing what San Juan County does. Not and that's what we do. It's not how every person we contract with works also. And to make it apply to every person that we work with, given the multinationals that we work with, is just not reasonable.
I'll stop there. Okay, Anne-Marie and then Kyle.
I guess I'm a little confused. If we have this in the federal law and we have this in the state law and we have these in our county contracts, why is it that we found that there was discrimination in our contracting? That was one of the findings of this committee. So I don't see how you can have it both ways.
I'd answer this, Commissioner Fengs. I don't understand what you're talking about in terms of discrimination in contracts. Can you be specific? The context is everything here.
Well, I'll defer to the committee because they brought this information forward to us in their findings.
Okay, so let's dive into it. I can't just accept a blank finding. Context is everything. And discrimination, there are legions of lawsuits and case law on this subject of discrimination. And what is different about this anti-discrimination language is that it is broader than federal law, it's broader than state law. Okay, it has more characteristics than under state or federal law, and that's where you run into issues.
Kyle?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jane had her hand up first. Two things. One, this is precisely the kind of work that should be happening in committee, not in front of not that everyone can't hear it, but this is time consuming and I recommend we move it to committee. And number two, I have a question. If the contracts are the counties, we're talking about, I don't think we're talking about bids where the county goes for work for multinationals. It's the other way around. And I don't understand how we impact beyond federal and state law when we're prescribing more refined, are based on list one, they're more refined than other places, and it only impacts the work or the substances that the county gets. It doesn't impact a multinational and cause Microsoft, maybe it loses business. That's an incentive for them to do different work. I need to understand how that's the other way around.
You're muted, Randy.
I suggest that you invite the county manager to this discussion and invite our contract attorney, John Kane, after he attempts to try out this contract with a couple of different companies, see what happens. Look, most contracts simply refer to the state and or the federal rules for non-discrimination. That's all. And that is a perfectly acceptable approach. Look at what Snohomish County does. That is a good approach. As soon as you start adding characteristics different from state or federal law, then you start running into these legal difficulties, these expansive matters of non-discrimination, and things that just create liabilities, which are not needed, and risks for people who contract with us. So we expect that they would choose not to contract with us, and overall it'd be a much higher expense for the county. This is a huge cost factor.
So that, I think, Randy, I think the last point you made is a point that I can understand. Your first point, though, that we're going broader, or that we're making decisions that are broader than San Juan County. Who we contract with is exclusively a San Juan County decision. I think the argument is there may be some companies who choose not to contract or not to bid on a contract because we require something more than the state or more than the feds. But who we choose to contract with is exclusively a San Juan County decision. And so that's why I was thinking if this were in the charter, and yes, maybe we are going broader than county or than state or federal. And I think the people of San Juan County would probably very much support that idea. But I just want to be clear, and that was the question I was going to ask earlier that Kyle just brought up, which is who we choose to contract with. That's a county decision. If our requirements for who's allowed to bid are stricter, that may cause some others not to bid. And maybe that would be cost prohibitive or financially a burden to San Juan County. And that's something we would have to consider in making our decisions as a commission, and the voters would have to consider. But that is not outside of our purview. You're muted again, Randy, sorry.
Absolutely it is. The way clause 2 is written, you require these other contract firm, organization, corporation, or non-governmental entity to adhere to these non-discrimination policies. And it doesn't say just in San Juan County. It says that must be their SOP wherever they work.
Okay, so that language could be clarified then. That
Yes.
language
No,
could be
I don't
clarified
see how
better
you're going
to say, well, we could say that in bidding, so when they're bidding with us. Right?
So,
But Bill, you had your hand. Oh, sorry, Randy, go ahead.
Bill raised the question of federal grants. Like federal grants are going to require us to comply with federal law. These are contracts of adhesion. We do not have a choice to change these. We cannot say you follow our non-discrimination language, period.
Okay.
You're going to
Okay.
lose the grants. This will cause us to lose federal grants. You leave this language in, I'll bet. Okay, you are jeopardizing the rest of this, and you may choose to separate it as a separate ballot measure. In fact, we're still reserving that as an issue.
Yeah. Okay. So Bob, you had your hand up, and then David.
Yes, there's one person has worked longer and with more effort than any of us in this, and I'm just interested in hearing exactly what Jane would like to do with this. She's very important to me in this discussion. Can you say, Jane?
Sure. This is my opinion, Commissioner O'Connell, and I unfortunately am not able to benefit from what I have considered extremely valuable discussion and deliberation with my 3 other fellow commission members on our subcommittee. And so I can tell you that in everything that we have done together, we've listened to each other, we've learned from each other, we've respected each other's perspectives, and we've negotiated through all of this together as a team of the 4 of us. And so, if I get pushed into a corner where I have to make a decision on this one based on my own knowledge, opinion, experience, and discernment and consideration of what the prosecuting attorney is advising based on his experience, I would decide that we should keep clause 1, let clause 2 go, push it into an ordinance, and that would be my position. Do I feel good that we can't go back in a committee and discuss it? No, I don't feel good about that. But I am hearing what the prosecuting attorney is saying. I think we could, if we had all manner of time, we could talk to the county manager. We could talk to the contracts lawyer and get more and deeper advice. We don't have that time. And so my position is, and it may differ from my co-chair, who I deeply respect, Commissioner Davies. My position is we retain Article 1 or Clause 1 of this section. It just be one section with only one clause, and we vote on it and get it on the darn ballot, because I am very worried that this will all disappear.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Fuller. That is indeed what the motion is, and
Right.
I think we should proceed in that way.
Thank you. And I saw, was it David, you had a hand up?
Yeah, in view of the motion and not including item 2, I do not need to speak. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. And I said earlier that I would support the motion on the table as is as well. And I do appreciate the conversation we just had with Randy, though. That was very informative for me.
Yes, it was.
Liz, did I see your hand? No? Any other comments at this point in time? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table. The
Mr.
motion-
Chair, sorry, Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
I just would like to see if my co-chair, Commissioner Davies, would like to say anything. I don't want him to sit there in silence if he doesn't wish to. I feel it's important he have the opportunity to express his views if he wishes to.
Thank you. I just, clause 2, I think I'm appreciating energy from the whole group, that the deadline looms and that's the driver. My sense, if that wasn't the case, is that no one would have any issue with this going back for subcommittee discussion. And if you do, I'd love to hear about it. With that in mind, then this is just time sort of forcing the work of the subcommittee. I think I've said this in the chat, I think wording changes could accomplish what everybody wants here. I don't think that has to be weeks and weeks. I think one more meeting could do that in light of getting these comments from the PA today. That being the case, knowing we have to report to council, that's the deadline. That's where the holdup hiccup is. I will vote against this only out of that premise, knowing that wording changes in committee could make that change. But that isn't necessarily going to change anyone's, the motion and second are on the table. I get that.
Any further discussion? Okay, to be clear, the motion, Sharon.
Yeah. I'm just finding this really upsetting, and I think we can probably accomplish what Kyle is suggesting, like by tomorrow, if that would be acceptable to the full CRC.
Anne Marie and then Liz.
I withdraw my second.
Kevin, my question is to you. Is it realistic, given that we have an additional meeting on Monday, that we do give this subcommittee time to go back and put it on there? Is that reasonable? Can we do it that way?
I think the answer to that is probably yes, but let's see where this discussion goes. I've got Dick and Tony. I was going to restate the motion.
There's no motion anymore. The
I
second
said I was going to. Dick and then Jane.
Yeah, I think the only way this gets accomplished by the committee in one more meeting is if Randy is willing to meet with them. And I saw Randy's email today that says he only wants to meet with the full commission. So if Randy's still on, I'm asking Randy, in the interest of time, would you please agree to meet with these 4 people who have been spending all the time on this and see if we can get to some kind of resolution in one meeting? That would be the most helpful.
Jane?
Yeah, I'm getting emotional around this, to be honest with you right now, because I appreciate that, Commissioner Grout, because that was why I wrote the prosecuting attorney yesterday and asked if he could confer with us as a smaller subset so that we could get his advice and deliberate to come back to you all, rather than continuing to have this back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And I also feel like if we could have any of his time, we could also deal with the other amendment at the same time. And so it would be my profound wish that we would be able to confer with the prosecuting attorney and his deputy, who's been working, I know, with him closely to get to the finish line on these 2 amendments. Thank you.
Randy, are you there? Randy?
Yes, I am here.
Would you be willing to meet with the subcommittee? Maybe over you've stated in the past that you spend a lot of your weekend time, unfortunately, working on CRC business because you actually have a full-time commitment otherwise. Could we do, like a Sunday afternoon or something? Is there any way you could find time?
Look, the question is, I understand the committee feels a need to talk about it, but what is it that they have? I agree with Commissioner Grout. There's a reason to just hash these things out with the group of the whole. And let's hear it so that we know what we're talking about. That's my obligation is to you as a group. And there is something about the group process that is very important at arriving at something. And that's what's happening right now. I do not like the concept of meeting with a group of people where the public rarely has the chance to attend and doesn't see what's happening here. And this is what we're doing in a public fashion.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Randy, please.
So that's my preference for staying with the full commission. And that's, that is my preference, given how far you've come today.
Okay, I was just going to point out every single subcommittee is public and recorded and on the website. So the public is able to attend.
Well, look at the number of people who attend.
Oh, yeah.
Look at it, Randy, come on. Look at the number of people who attend any public meeting ever. So except for our town halls. I have Janet and then Jane.
So Randy, Jane and I think this committee have fairly represented everything that you have brought to them, and they brought it back to us. Do you see anything that has not been fairly represented in what they have brought back to us? I think in terms of working with a group of 4 that know this inside and out, you giving advice, coming up with something as a compromise that everyone can work with and bringing it back to us, then it's a slam dunk in terms of if 17 of us are weighing in, this is going to go on for days on this one section. It really is. It is time saving. It's efficient. It is public. I mean, if anyone wants to see what happens, it's videotaped. And I think spending half an hour with them and helping them come to some sort of compromise, and if not, understanding why that compromise isn't possible, I think would really, in this case, help this for all of us as a whole.
I understand the need to talk more, but what is your question?
Wait, my question?
What is anyone's question?
Well, I think.
What is the question you have for me? Jane has her hand up.
Randy, I'm going to call on Jane. Maybe she can answer that.
Yeah, it's not just this one amendment, is the other amendment as well. I mean, we need to confer so that we can, it was my best effort to actually pivot. Let's talk about pivoting from my phone conversation with you for 5 minutes prior to this meeting to make the edits to the amendments to the amendment that we discussed based on your advice and recommendations, and then bring this to the full commission. However, so that's what we did, right? I did my edits in real time and threw them up on the screen. It's like, this is where we can be. And then there's still people that have, including my co-chair and both of my my subcommittee colleagues have some sticking points. And that's the way things go sometimes, right? So what do we need to discuss? We need to drill further into this contract issue to understand it further. And then there's a whole commission amendment. And the commission amendment has been commented on you by a number of times, and you still have issues. And then you said that we misrepresented Judge Loring's comments. And so it's complicated and it's sticky and it's messy, but it'll be recorded. And Linnea Anderson of Judge Loring's office has attended almost every single one of our subcommittee meetings. And she's the only person in the entire county who's done that, right? Anybody can listen to our meetings, and they do. And that's why we get chastised and pilloried by the public because we say things. So please, this is an appeal to help us get across the finish line, and get your good advice and talk through some really important points. And anyone on this call right now can be can be watching our meeting. Anyone.
Kevin, can I speak?
Hang on, Randy, were you going to respond to that? I thought she laid out kind of what the desire was.
I'm just asking for questions. Okay, what I like to do is provide advice in response to questions. So I'm looking for questions.
I think the question that the subcommittee chair was trying to state to you was that a little more clarification on kind of pros and cons of how to do this. And then also another question I raised earlier was, if this can be done by ordinance, you suggested that it's better done by ordinance by the council. If it can be done by ordinance, why couldn't it be done by the charter? And if so, then what's the advice you're going to give the council to help them develop an ordinance? Could that advice be given to us to help us perfect this language? So instead of us
I've already
not
given,
doing it.
I've already
And so
answered
instead
that
of us
question,
not-
Kevin.
Randy, instead of us not doing it at all and making it a recommendation, is there a way to perfect the language so that it's better and fits this model?
Say what I'll do.
What would happen in an ordinance that wouldn't happen in the charter?
This is what I'll suggest. I believe I've answered all of your questions. Okay, what I want the 4 committee members to do is to read my advice, look at all of the cases, look at all the statutes, all the things I've referred to, then send me some questions by email. And you could schedule a meeting to discuss it. And if I'm available, I'll make an effort to attend. All right. But I want to know what the questions are in advance. And I want you to know that you've studied my materials first. And think that's absolutely essential that we come to the meeting both prepared and understand each other. And with that, I don't think you're going to have many questions for me. I think I've communicated well, both in the written material as well as verbally here. So let's proceed on that basis. I have no time available for tomorrow, the next 3 days, but on Sunday afternoon, I would probably have an hour.
Okay. Thank you, Randy. Sharon.
I just want to say that I think even a brief discussion would be very valuable because there is a limit to what people can communicate via email, and sometimes discussion just is extremely helpful.
What if David, hang on one sec, please. Let me try and throw out a suggestion that might be a way to move us forward. I hear what Randy is saying, which is it's difficult for him to come into a meeting unprepared, first of all, for what we may raise with him. And then also it helps us be better prepared. I know I'll speak for myself. It helps me be better prepared for a meeting when I actually write out my questions and so on. So what if the motion does not have a second at this point? So the motion is not formally on the table at this point. I'm sure there could be a second, but what if we postpone the decision on this? And I'm going to look to Jane to nod or disagree on this, but what if we postpone, we have a special meeting scheduled for Monday. What if we scheduled a tentative time on Sunday afternoon, recognizing that we need to do our homework and be prepared and send Randy in advance kind of an outline of what it is we want to discuss with some specific questions so that he can be better prepared. And then we can take that time on Sunday, or maybe we look at it and we don't have specific questions, or Randy looks at it and says, these aren't specific enough. So we're saying we're going to schedule the time. We're going to aim for an hour on Sunday afternoon. It may or may not happen. It looks like there's a desire to make it happen. So those of us on the commission will need to do homework and put together what it is we want to ask our prosecutor. And if that can happen, it happens, or it doesn't happen. And then on Monday at our special meeting, we make the decision to finalize that language and include that in the presentation to the county council, either as the motion was today, with Randy's suggestion that we go back to the Snohomish language specifically, or that we, with our prosecutor, are able to craft some different language. Does that scenario, Jane, I want to look to you first. Would that work for you?
Yes, that would work for me if we could proceed on that
And
basis.
Randy, if we're able to get you some specific questions, you said you could make an hour on Sunday. I want to make it worth your time and also get you the detail you need, but would that scenario work for you? I think that was a yes. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Now to the rest of the commission. Sorry to defer to Jane and Randy first, but to the rest of the commission, are folks okay with that? If we try and do that just to spend a little more time? I'm seeing a lot of thumbs up.
Yeah.
Okay. So Catherine, we will put this first on the agenda for Tuesday and recognize that it may be the same motion comes back if some compromise language, Monday, sorry. We'll put it on the agenda for Monday, and we're going to be looking for some compromise language, but we also recognize that we may in fact come back with the same motion that was on the table today. And I can do anytime after like 12:30 or so on Sunday, 1 o'clock something. So anytime in mid to late afternoon. I'll make myself flexible. Okay. With that, are folks okay? I actually feel good. I think, Randy, I thought that was a positive conversation. I think that we're moving in the right direction, and I'm glad we're going to have a little bit of time on Sunday to try and finalize things. Bob, I see your hand.
Yeah, I'm just going to say how I feel. I don't really need anybody's response on it, but I feel like we are flirting with disaster here. And I'm not talking about this particular amendment and what happens to it. I'm talking about our timing and our refusal to realize that when things have come up to this commission, that it is this commission's duty to fix whatever needs to be fixed and nail it down. I love committees, and I love being able to send things back to committees, but I think that time is over. But that's what we're going to do. So we'll see how it comes out.
I very much appreciate that, Bob. And it's why, even with the concerns I had, I was saying I could vote today too, but I think we've got it good. We can do it by Monday. We're still, Monday's the absolute drop dead, like fall off a cliff. Tom, I saw your hand. Do you mind if I go to public comment first? For about 10 minutes late for that. Is that okay? Thank you so much. Let's open it up for public comment. Anybody from the public care to speak? If so, if you're able, turn on your video and unmute yourself. Okay, I don't see anybody from the public. Tom Starr, and then David.
I just want to be clear on the Sunday meeting. Is that the full CRC or just the subcommittee?
No, that would be just the subcommittee, but being that
Okay.
there's only 4 members, other members of the CRC will be able to join up to 8.
Okay.
So another additional 4 members if they care to, and we will have to advertise that by tomorrow when we pick a time, and then so the public can attend as well. So it will be a formal meeting, and you'll be notified of that as well. Okay. I see another hand. David, sorry.
I agree with Bob. We've the last 2 meetings we've had agendas, and we've gotten halfway through the agendas, and we're getting closer and closer, and we don't have time. We've discussed this enough. We can move forward. I want to remind Kevin of something he did in Olympia. It had to do with gay rights. It was a very important issue to him, and he realized, and he has said this to my groups I'm involved with on other occasions, you can make steps along the way. You don't have to hit a home run immediately. And what he did in Olympia, correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, is he supported something short of a home run. It went forward, and then it set the precedent for the eventual game-winning score. And I think with a compromise here of just going with either taking it out completely, making a recommendation or whatever, we can accomplish the steps that'll eventually lead to an integral solution. And so I'm not in support of just having another meeting, another discussion.
Okay, so thank you for that. And you are correct. That was a 9-year, 5-bill effort. But the point is, we've already made a decision. So this is coming back Monday. There will be a Sunday subcommittee meeting. On this note, I've got to go, guys, like right now. I apologize. Maureen C., you're going to take over as chair. Maureen and I were in the chat talking about this agenda, and David, to your point, we're not getting through it. So what we're going to do is postpone. The budget point isn't necessary right now. The 1 ballot or 2 ballots, that's the main topic for Monday discussion. So we're going to spend time on that Monday. So really all we're going to do in the next 15 minutes is go through where we are on our amendments. And the last thing I will say to everybody is please start getting your recommendations to Megan right now. She only has 3 of the whatever we have, 11, now 12, something like that. So Maureen, your chair, I'll thank you all, and I'll see you later.
Kevin, is our Monday meeting 4 o'clock?
Yes, I believe so.
Yes.
Thank you.
Monday at 4 p.m.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye, Kevin. Okay. In terms of reviewing amendments, I'm a little perplexed on that since I'm continuing to work on term limits, which is starting to choke me. I just want to know, maybe a few of you can tell me who hasn't submitted their amendment information to, well, of course, poor Jane. You're in the middle of it. Go ahead, Jane.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So yeah, where we're at with the Justice and Equity Subcommittee's work is you can see we're almost, we're nearly there with the non-discrimination section. And then with this section on the Justice, Equity, and Inclusion Commission, I believe that with this special subcommittee meeting on Sunday, we'll be able to be where we need to be on Monday. So
Okay,
in the special meeting. So that's where we're at. And yeah.
okay, very good. I see a note about initiative and referendum. Is that has it been reviewed by Randy, Patty?
Maureen, can I interject? Megan sent us a list of the status of everything. Would it be more efficient to look at that?
She is.
Well, my goodness, aren't you very thorough? Yes, it would be. Let me see if I
but
can
I was
find it. Okay.
Is Megan on the call? No.
Let me
No,
just
she
get,
said she would. She
It
said she
does
wouldn't be here.
say, it says reviewed by PA and finalized. So I think we move on from initiatives and referendums. It's done.
okay. I'd like to see that list. Does anybody have it handy that you could share? Kyle, can you do that? Thank you. That would help us move this conversation
That
faster.
was sent at 6:48 this morning.
Okay, thanks for reminding us, Dick. Okay, so the budget provisions is done,
Yes.
but is that a recommendation? Oh,
No, that's an amendment.
okay,
How can
sorry.
you enlarge?
I did look at this, but I forgot about it. Okay.
Figure out how to make it.
That's okay, no worries. I'll bring it up on my computer.
Initiatives and referendum has been reviewed by PA and finalized. The introduction, preamble, community values, etc., reviewed by PA and finalized.
All right.
Justice and equity, that's still ongoing. Okay. Term limits. Okay, stop me now. Should be done, but it is been this morning. There was activity, and it's gone back to Randy. Public advocate.
Kevin said that this morning. There was
Yeah,
an
that
email
was-
we all got.
That was sent in like a long time ago. I'm not sure what's going on with that.
Kevin sent a final this morning.
To Randy.
Yes.
Well, yeah, because they had the wrong one. Okay. And Paul was able to catch that and we got the correct one sent in. The RCV. Subcommittee should continue to discuss, it says. Oh, thank you very much, Kyle. That's pretty rough. Discuss, reconcile. Wait a minute, where are we? Can you scroll down a little bit? Yeah.
That's RCV at the top.
Okay. Reviewed by PA, subcommittee should discuss, reconcile, and provide me. Sharon, are you on that?
There is no subcommittee.
Well, I know you've been kind of carrying the ball on that, is what I'm saying. So
Yeah,
Sharon,
you're talking about the RCV amendment?
yes, I am.
Yeah, that one did not pass out of the elections committee, but the full CRC took it up. I have
Right.
worked on it. I got back language from the prosecuting attorney's office yesterday, so I will be working on that tonight into tomorrow. I just haven't had a chance to get to it because I've been
I get
preparing
it.
to go off island and going off island. So
And you are like the committee of one on this, aren't you? You're kind of
yeah,
okay.
pretty much.
I know.
But I will have that. I will have that processed sometime tomorrow, if not before.
Okay. I think that covers everything on this list, does it not?
What did she do with the recommendations? There was
Well, that's a separate list because these are
Right.
amendments.
right, but didn't she provide such a list? I think she did.
No.
Not
She
yet.
did not. Okay. I
Okay,
thought I
so
saw it
Kyle,
yesterday.
if you take this down, if you don't mind. So has everyone who has a recommendation in your subcommittee gotten that over to Megan?
6 weeks ago.
Yes.
literally.
Elections. did-
Although I think she says she hasn't seen it yet, so I'm going to resend it.
Liz, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I just wondered why the climate and environment didn't show up on that list. Because it's been submitted and reviewed.
So
I
what I'll
think the
have
last
to do is put in
Right.
the comments from today, and then I'll send it back to Megan and Kevin, I guess. I don't know how many times it goes, but I guess it's going again.
Apparently a lot.
Yeah,
Uh,
okay,
so
so we'll
there-
do that.
Yeah,
I was gonna put together and then make sure Kyle and Kevin, because they both took notes, make sure I captured everything.
well, since the pivot, there's been some new action, so that's good.
Right.
On the other recommendations, I mean, I got public records I sent in today because I forgot. Are you guys sending in language, bullet points? I mean, what are you sending in?
I sent in the language. And when I say 6 weeks ago, I literally mean that. I
I
sent it.
know.
I sent it when we were asked to send in, I forget what it was called, but it was a sheet that had each one of those things on it. One of them was the recommendations. I put the language of the recommendation in, bang, sent it out.
Okay, and that's process, correct?
Yes.
Okay, Tony, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Elections sent a recommendation a few weeks ago and finally to Megan. So I think we're done.
Okay, good. Sharon, did you have your hand up again?
I did.
No, sorry, no.
Okay, go ahead, Dick.
I just want to remind everybody, Megan did tell us that she wanted final language on recommendations, and she said she would be dealing with the amendments first. So I don't think it's terribly surprising that maybe we don't have a response on the recommendations, but anybody who hasn't gotten final language to her needs to do it because that's what she asked for.
And that's what this conversation's for. So Dave, you had a question? No? Dave Anderson?
Yeah. Sorry, I had to shut my door there. Yeah, the governance committee met over the weekend and we finalized our recommendations. 3 of them, we had 6 of them given to us to reassess. 3 of them, the committee felt that they don't really fit as recommendations. They were actually designed to be amendments. And so we recommended to, I think, the full commission that we do not make them as recommendations. They're dealing with the structure of county government in terms of clarifying language in the charter of what is the role of the county manager. It was kind of not as needed. It only works as language in the charter. Also, who is in charge of putting out the budget message? Currently, it says the auditor does. We're trying to. There was the talk about trying to add the county manager to be a part of that process. It was felt that.
Madam Chair, a point of order. I don't think we have time to go into our deliberations on each of these recommendations right now. I don't mean to cut Dave off, but that's not what we're trying to do. I think we're just trying to take stock of where we're at with our recommendations.
Okay, I get you. Thank you. Thank you.
Could I
But Dave did submit today, and I appreciate that. But
just-
you made some changes. Why don't you finish?
Let me just say that I was just saying these are 3 recommendations that we are recommending to not move forward as recommendations. That's all. Thank you.
I'm lost on who's next here.
Can somebody with an airplane mute?
Someone's landing on my house, apparently. Go ahead, David. David, I can't hear you.
Mute. Okay. I agree with Jane. We got to move on with the term limits. Can you hear me? I'm not the term limits. The
Yes,
amendments.
we do have to move on with
Yeah,
term
let's get to the crux of it. We got to go through these one by one. Term limits, Maureen. My understanding is what I got from you this morning was a final version incorporating Randy's change. You've
Correct.
responded to Randy. So
Yeah.
can we vote on that now and get it out of the way? There's no reason for this to come back at a future meeting. That
We're
we're
not-
dealing with term limits right now. Let's just get it over with.
I think
It'll be
term
very
limit-
simple.
I don't think we're going to vote on that today. We're going to
Well,
vote
well-
on it.
Let's just get it over with. Well, please. Why not?
Thank you. I think, wait a minute, who else Jane, did you want to say something?
Sorry, too many things going on right
Yeah.
now. On my printer. I just wanted to say that our subcommittee on justice and equity still has a couple of recommendations to deal with. And so until we can finish our amendments, it's going to be difficult to get to those, but hopefully we will by Monday.
Okay, great. Thank you. Tom, did you have something to say?
No, sorry.
Okay, that's okay. David, the thing is, I just want to say.
I would like to make a motion that we approve the term limits as amended by Maureen with the help of Randy. If she would put it up on the screen.
But you know what?
No, excuse me. Excuse me, somebody could, is there a second?
Madam Chair, excuse me.
Tony.
I don't think you authorized a motion or a motion to be
I am
made
not
right now.
authorized. That's what I'm trying to say to you. We're going to hold off on this until we meet on Monday. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Sorry if it disappoints you, but that's the way it goes today. You know, now that Kevin's not here, I can do anything I want. So get ready. We're going to hold off some of this, but we're going to stop this meeting very soon. This has been long. And unless somebody has something really pressing, this was a quick review of recommendations. It was a review of what's still outstanding. If you haven't gotten your things in to Megan, get them in as quickly as you can. And we're sliding to the finish line. So it's a hard thing to debate now. It's time to just negotiate all these things and get them done. So
Move we adjourn.
thank you. So I have a second. We have a second from Anne Marie. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much.
Could Sharon and, are we going to stop recording, and could Sharon and Kyle just hang